to the Gaming Discourse. I'm Tyler Frater alongside Richard A. the Cruz.
Hello.
And Chief Engineer Lieutenant Commander Connor Frater.
Good evening.
We are all back in the same room.
Huzzah.
Which hasn't happened for a couple weeks now. And that's always good because the energy is always best when we are all in the same room together. You never know when punches are going to start going. We get, sports radio angry. We grab each other's mics, whatever it may be, talking about, the Knicks fired Tom I don't know why I'm talking about
Matt
this.
Piscatella barges in. Stop fighting!
I know, our good friend Matt Piscatella, who Matty Ice, will be on the show next week. Okay, so we've got lots of trailers to talk about. Follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/gaming discourse, 247 $10. Get your name in the video credits, early access to our videos, access to our Discord server. Every Friday morning now, I do a Friday morning blog on our Patreon. So it's casual. I didn't want to turn it into something where it's like it took away from larger projects. But yeah, so like this past week, I just did sort of a real brief review of Skin Deep, which I finished over the weekend. Very good. So glad I picked it up. Just brimming with personality and charm, and its comedic chops were very on point. It wasn't, we're getting a Deadpool VR game, which I thought looked pretty cool. But that whole, I think like everything is kind of Deadpool-y humor now, in a sense.
Very sarcastic.
Like Borderlands is kind of like similar. Like a lot of video game humor is sort of Deadpool humor, because I feel like it's easy to write, oh, fuck nuggets, I just broke my scholar bone or something like that, right? Which is fine in certain doses and in certain contexts. But Skin Deep's humor was much more like sincere. Like I've talked about, I wrote about in the blog, like, so you have to rescue cats who, it doesn't explain why, but they're sentient and they operate spaceships. You have to rescue cats from pirates. And then once you rescue them, in between levels, you're at Nina's habitat, which is like her little room, her little house. And the cats will email you stuff that they're into. And so like one cat, Gorbo, I think his name is, he emails you about like, hey, I think it's a good idea for humans and cats to do a trick exchange, because he's a skateboard cat. So he's like, and since us cats use skateboards the size of us, humans should ride skateboards the size of them. What do you think? And you have this conversation that if you follow it, it spans the entire game with you and him just trading little emails about, yeah, that'd be pretty cool, but I don't know if I could ride a skateboard that well. Just like a dumb, but like a sincere, really wholesome conversation you have with this cat who's like into skateboarding. And there's a bunch of different cats. There's a cat that's into LARPing. There's a cat that's into poetry. There's a cat that's into horror movies and is like, oh, I just got back from a horror movie expo. I saw like Space Slasher 5 or whatever. Anyway. So it's really silly and sincere, and I really appreciated that. So the humor is something where I feel like it was sort of a breath of fresh air, because it wasn't toilet humor, it wasn't Marvel humor, and it wasn't sort of Deadpool humor. And those things are fine, in certain contexts again. But yeah, I thought Skin Deep had a really unique voice and a really unique way of sort of delivering its laughs, and it was just a good game. Really solid immersive sim, which is a genre name that I hate, but you sneak through ships, you find tools to take out the pirates with. A lot of the different ships have like a special thing. So like one ship has a freezer on it that like instantly freezes things. So clearly the obvious thing to do is to lure a pirate in there. So you have to figure out how to lure a pirate into it, and then, close it and freeze this pirate, and you get a little reward if you do that. And so all the different ships have like different little gimmicks like that you can take advantage of for fun. So yeah, if you're looking into it, Steam Summer Sale's coming up. It'll probably be a couple bucks off. I would 100% recommend checking out Skin Deep. I think it's one of my favorite games this year, and I think it'll be one of the best games this year. But that's basically, I've been playing more Expedition 33. I think I'll talk about that next week. I am enjoying it a lot, and the other day I finally got an opportunity where I could sit down for like 3 to 4 hours and just play it. And that's when I was able to really dig into the different move sets for the characters and sort of figure out how best to use them and stuff like that. And then also like with the dodging and the parrying, that game can just be ridiculous because it's just like a guy will swing a sword and he gets 2 inches above your head and stops, waits 3 seconds, and then finishes the attack, and you're like, what the hell?
So it's Elden Ring style.
Yes.
Yeah, Elden Ring does that shit too.
Or there's so much going on screen where it's like, how the hell am I supposed to know when to dodge or parry when you have all this magnificent art that is just clogging up the screen? So sometimes it can be frustrating, but if I just sort of focus and push past that, I tend to be fine. But anyway, yeah, so what have, Richard?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
What have you been playing?
I've been playing, well, I played and beat South of Midnight.
Awesome.
Yeah, I did beat it. And I had, afterwards, I had complicated feelings about it. Not that that's like a bad thing, but it's kind of this, I guess, bittersweet feeling because the game is solid. Like, it is a really solid game, but it suffers from having side characters and side stories that are not only more interesting than the main story, but they don't flesh out those stories, those side stories.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. So you'll have characters. So can I get spoilery? Doesn't matter.
Sure.
You guys?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm okay with that.
So the first story you run into is the area you go to is corrupted by whatever feelings are going on, and you find out that there's a man, you meet him, he talks to you, and he's like, yeah, go over there, fix the thing. And you find out that him and his brother growing up, he was an accomplished violinist. His brother was, we'll say, slow, mentally challenged.
Okay.
And his brother was made fun of all the time because of that. So the brother, who was a violinist, basically started to defend his brother, and the bullying was then aggroed to him. And so it got to the point where he couldn't take it anymore. So he shoves his brother into like a tree, boards him up, leaves him to die. And brother comes tree, whole thing, whatever. You fix the problem, but you never go back to like see how the brother was doing, to see if anything you did affected him, to see if there's any more of expansion on that.
Okay.
It's just like a cool, see ya, and then you go to the next
thing. There's no what's the word I'm looking for?
Closure.
Closure.
Yeah.
There's
and Hazel's story is always more important than the side story, which obviously she's the main character. Yeah, that's what what you'd expect. But when you encounter characters who have something to do with her life, and everything that they provide is incredibly interesting, but insanely brief, it's disappointing.
Yeah,
it becomes like a what could have been. A lot of lore is tied to notes, which is fine, but I feel like maybe some stuff that is very important should be highlighted a little more. I don't mind notes. Resident Evil does it very well because it's very slight world building instead of integral pieces of the story.
I'm thinking right now, I don't remember a lot of notes at all in Resident Evil.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of notes, but it's always something that if I read it, I always go, oh, cool. But if I didn't read it, I'm not going to miss anything. Sure. I talked about how Hazel, when you get her powers at the beginning, you're always seeing like echoes of the past and kind of like the South during the slavery era, how like weavers had those sort of abilities, and you follow a particular weaver who like kind of leads you to get more powers. As soon as you get one of the main powers, I wouldn't even say halfway through the game, you just never see it again, really. And it never really like follows up on any of that, which is disappointing.
Seems like they take a pretty big bite, but maybe they can't, like they're not able to chew on everything.
Yeah. And it might be a because everything that is done very well. Like all of those characters I've interacted with are very, very good looking. Their character models are great. Their stories are great, but it's just when I meet somebody, I'm like, I want to know what your deal is. I want to know more about this. It's over. You just kind of go. But by the end of it, the villain is obviously like, oh, you're the villain, but their motivations are kind of not interesting. They're cliched, but you solve that problem. Trying to be not spoiler here. You don't necessarily solve the problem, but you like kind of prevent them from doing what they need to do, but they keep trying to do it, even though they know they can't. Like, they don't know that they can't because they haven't found out yet, but it's just like, well, yeah, I can't, I solved that.
I need to play this.
Yeah. But like I said, yeah, the gameplay is good. The fighting is very standard. But I mean, I still have no issues, buying it. It was a $40 game, and that's not a slight on the game at all. It was well worth the $40. And I hate to say it once again, because I think this is like the third time I've said it in like a year. But if they have a sequel, which I don't know, it didn't really leave on a sequel. Like, it didn't really leave on anything that could, like, next time. Like, there is, because there's the spirits they deal with. There's, like, an ultimate spirit that you kind of defeat, but he's not actually gone. So they could make a sequel, but I don't know what it'll entail.
Yeah, and has Compulsion ever made a sequel to any of their games?
No, because they just did this, We Happy Few before this, and then Contrast before that.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say.
So, did that. So yeah, that was great. And then I did buy Expedition, but I haven't played it yet because
I think you're gonna like it.
Oh, I know I am. Ever since the reveal trailer, I was like, this is it, like 100%.
Sorry, just to cut you off.
Yeah.
One thing I like about Expedition, I really like the emotion of it. I feel like games. A lot of games, there's a lot of melodrama, there's a lot of emotional payoff that isn't earned and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can't think of a moment off the top of my head right now from a specific game, but the premise of Expedition being what it is, I feel like because these characters are all staring down the barrel of a terminal disease, essentially, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, when those moments of big emotion come and they arrive fairly early on, it just feels really well made. And I think it's just a good piece of storytelling and emotion that is maybe overdramatic like at times, but not in a this game hasn't really earned this kind of way. I feel like it earns that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm excited for you to play it because I know you're gonna have a ton of thoughts on it. Sure. And I think you're gonna be forward by some stuff. So.
No, that's great. That's really awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into it. I will soon. But until then, I've been kind of dabbling in Forza Horizon 5 on the PS5. I bought it for PS5 because I prefer PlayStation. But one thing I did forget about Xbox games being on PlayStation is that they did take into account adaptive triggers and stuff like that. So when playing Forza Horizon 5, I have the triggers like to,
Does the Xbox One not have anything like that?
No.
Really.
It has a really good control. I think its controller is excellent.
Yeah, Xbox perfected the controller.
Yeah, like especially this. Like if you haven't held a series controller, that thing is really good.
I have not, but
really good.
Ever since the Xbox 360, I think everybody is like, okay, they figured it out.
Yeah.
And maybe since the Xbox, after the Duke, they shortened the controller, and it's like that was the moment where I feel like they kind of figured out. Okay.
I would like to sit here and be like, well, that's why it's standard on PC, but Microsoft is PC, so it's kind of like, but yeah, I'm playing that and just kind of like when I have half hour, 45 minutes, like driving around a little bit is fun. But that's it so far.
Connor?
Let you guess what I've been playing.
Nothing.
Well, no.
Flight Simulator.
No.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Oh, Crusader Kings?
European Versailles.
Sorry, I was
same thing I've talked about for the past 3 weeks.
I was getting there. I'm sorry. I was getting there. I'm sorry.
The whole Rolodex.
Yeah, just let me look through my contacts here. Okay, do you have any updates for us on your world-conquering ventures? No. Did you play as, who did you start as again?
Most recently, I was doing a run as France. Got into easy mode by getting personally over Spain. And so I had like over 100,000 soldiers that I could throw at any problem. And usually I was facing off against like 30 to 50,000. So, you know, 150 or 100 to 150 versus 30 to 50. And kind of a base roll.
Then, I'm not a history expert, but like back then, weren't wars like they were like a couple battles, right? Or were they like these long protract? Because you didn't really have like a front line like you had in modern warfare.
Wars weren't like battles were rare. The war was sieges.
Oh, okay, those were protracted. Yes, that makes sense.
In fact, the longest siege in that time period took 21 years.
That's a very long time.
Yes, it is.
That's almost a comedically long time.
That is a generation of people lived through that siege.
Yeah, that's a terrifying long time. Mm-hmm. I just imagine like there's like a guy on the ground and a guy up on the wall, and it's like year 15, and the guy on the ground's like having his morning coffee, and the guy up top's like, "Hey Jim, how you doing?" it's like they just become acquainted with each other at that point. Huh. Okay, but so I was always under the impression that wars back then were like a couple battles, and then at that point somebody's army is decimated. And so it's like, okay, you win the war. But then there's like the 30 Years War and stuff like that. So I honestly
battles
don't know.
Did happen, but usually, you know, you would run into the enemy army and be like, oh, this area's kind of shit for a fight on our end. Let's leave.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I need to learn more about medieval warfare, just like every man my age going through a midlife crisis. I need to just get into history for no reason.
But currently I am doing a Brandenburg to Prussia run through.
Okay.
So starting as Brandenburg inside the Holy Roman Empire, conquering a bunch of territory that I need to make Prussia, and then tag swapping to that the ultimate military force. There's actually a Warhammer 40k themed achievement for
sweet.
Yeah. Because the goal is to be Prussia, be the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, and have 40,000 Marines.
Oh, nice. Nice. Okay. Brandenburg is where Amnesia: The Dark Descent takes place.
Oh.
Yeah, it takes place in Brandenburg, and I think you travel from Prussia. I think Daniel travels from Prussia or from Brandenburg to Prussia, something like that. But that's when the Dark Descent takes place, around there. Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
And have fun and all that stuff.
Sure.
Okay, so I think with that out of the way, we'll get to news and we'll talk all these trailers. Thanks for listening. If you like our content, please consider subscribing or leaving a like and comment. You can find us at patreon.com/thegamingdiscourse. And our tiers are $2, $4, $7, and $10 and include getting your name in the video credits, early access, and access to our Discord server. Okay, so we're not gonna get to every conference and every showcase and stuff like that. I think what I have selected here is PlayStation, the Summer Games Fest, and then Xbox. The PC game show had like 70 games. A lot of them look pretty cool.
You know what sucks is that there are also like other shows this weekend that had really cool games. I was actually surprisingly a big fan of the Latin America showcase. That was really good.
Yes, there were a lot of like smaller scale shows that I actually need to go back and look at. Yeah. But I feel like we need to figure out how to, I don't know, like how do we need the big weekend. Like the Xboxes, PlayStations, and then we need like 2 weeks later, give me like the 30-minute, there's like a cozy direct and wholesome direct, right?
Yes.
Like, give me the indies.
Yeah. If only there was like a big convention where this could all happen.
yeah, exactly.
It'll never happen. You're crazy.
We'll call it E2.
No, but you know,
everything electronic.
There was a game called Animal Kind. I don't know if you guys have seen it. You play as little cute animals like corgis and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then you get into mechs, and it's like you chop down trees and stuff. So it's just a ridiculous amount of cutesiness. But anyway, okay. So talking PlayStation, we had 007 First Light, just going through some of the games.
Yeah.
Luminous Arise, Pragmata got a release date for 2026. It's been delayed multiple times, but seems like 2026 may be a sure thing. Romeo is a Dead Man, which had a cool trailer, and that's from the developers. Is that the Touchdown Tom
Yes, Travis touchdown. Yeah.
Travis touchdown. Yeah, touchdown. Tom Brady's nickname.
That's a great name though. I got to tell you. So, no more heroes and
no more heroes and
Killer
Let It
7.
Die.
Let It Die.
Yeah. Silent Hill F comes out September 25th. That's Mark Hamill's birthday and somebody else's birthday. Bloodstain, the Scarlet Engagement, which I thought looked awesome.
Looks very cool.
I still have not
Co-op, yeah.
played Ritual of the Night though. Nioh 3, I know there's a lot of people excited for that. The Mortal Kombat collection, that looks sick as hell.
So I can't wait for that.
It's got the documentary footage.
It's so funny. Like the Digital Eclipse stuff is like, yes, I would love to play almost every Tetris ever made. How was it made? Like, and so when Mortal Kombat, more than like, I wasn't expecting Mortal Kombat, but when I saw the text, it was like, this is Mortal Kombat. And I was like, of course. Like, I absolutely want to know everything because they're going to touch on the ESRB. They're going to touch on all of that. I can't wait. It's awesome.
That's what makes it such a good subject for a documentary.
And no one fucking cares. No one fucking cares.
We do.
I care. Yeah. We care.
That's what makes it such a fascinating subject for a documentary, because you have this like legacy fighting game title that got its start in arcades. It obviously impacted like how games are reviewed and you know, all kinds of ridiculous like social panicking over it and whatnot. But then also it's like Mortal Kombat is also a game with its own gameplay that is different from, you know, Street Fighter or different from, you know, whatever, Tekken or whatever. So that's just a fascinating discussion, that whole thing. So I can't wait for them to dig into the documentary and see what they can do. And that Atari game that you lent
Atari
me,
50,
Atari 50, that was so much fun.
They expanded it, by the way.
Did they?
Yeah, so they added DLC, which added not only more games, but more interviews, particularly with a lot of the women who made Atari games that weren't like highlighted as much.
The thing that you don't, in my head, I've tried to like, as a hobby, I've tried to think about like, what's the first generation of like game developers? Like, would that be the people would that be like Atari, like right around there? And I feel like it might be.
Yeah.
Like if we wanted to put, because so many people like Tim Schafer, Cliff Bleszinski are in that documentary, and all of them unanimously are like, yeah, I got my start in games because I was just playing
on an Atari.
This Atari game in a pizza place somewhere, and then I got the console and I started modding the console, and it's like, okay, there's like the third generation of game developers is like started with the Ataris.
Atari is the silent generation of video games.
Yes, exactly. Atari is like the World War I. You've got Tim Kaine. Those are like the boomers that made 80s and 90s, you know. And then you have the Schaefers, and those are like the 2000s. But anyway, Kojima's been around for a long time, though. What else? Thief VR looks cool. I'll talk about that in a second. Sword of the Sea looks awesome by Giant Squid. Talking about fight games, PlayStation has its own fight stick, which I did not expect at all.
Yeah, I didn't expect it either.
But it looks cool. So, okay, we had a discussion about, and you guys, if there's anything that's not here, anything you want to touch on, that's fine. But one thing I wanted to discuss, which we talked a little bit about in the Discord, is 007 First Light and it being sort of modern.
Yeah.
And I kind of had mixed feelings about that.
Yeah.
Because I felt like and I don't know how 007, has it ever been confirmed that it's like the idea is 007 is like a title? It's like,
no, it's
yes, but then no.
Right. That's
okay, because I haven't seen any of the Daniel Craig 007 movies. So I don't know
it was a title, then it no longer is a title because the Daniel Craig movies.
Okay, that's weird. Well, I don't know if they feel bound by that or what kind of limitations IO Interactive had, but this is just getting to me saying that I thought if you were making a 007 game, I thought it would be it'd be more interesting to do like a 1950s, 60s something, right? Maybe even 1940s, but then you'd have to like deal with World War II. But if you did like 1950s or 60s, then you could reach and take in like 1960s camp, and you could get inspired by that and Cold War stuff, and you know, so and
all like the design of like the classic Bond films you could lean into with like vehicles and gadgets.
Yeah, which I don't know old school like Rolls Royce cars and stuff like that. So I thought that would have been cool. Maybe even 1980s, like not leaning into it for nostalgia's sake, but like dig into the time, the politics of that era. I think that'd be cool. There's a really good DS9 episode called Our Man Bashir, where Dr. Bashir leaves out a funny 007 fantasy in the holodeck, and it's hilarious because the entire it's like a really bad it's like a really bad 007 movie. It's really funny, and the Kira Nerys, one of the characters in DS9, the actress Nana Visitor, she puts on just a ridiculous Russian accent. It's just hilarious. So, but the point of that episode is it is ridiculous. Like they pull from camp and everything. So I thought that would have been cool. But if you want to make your point about, because I thought you made a good point about it being modern.
I forgot what my point was because this was like it was like a half a week ago. So I'm sorry. But I kind of am warming up to the idea of, the point I was going to make, because you were talking about having it in the like 60s Cold War era and stuff, and I think that's awesome too. And I started to think of Bond as the type of franchise that is adaptable to any time. And so it reminds me of another series, an anime series from Japan you probably heard of, called Lupin the Third. Yeah, where he's a thief. He's based on Lupin arson, but he's had a movie in the 70s called Castle Cagliostro, and when he's like doing spy stuff, it's like, oh, I need to hear this conversation. I have this huge ass walkie-talkie, satellite, do all that stuff. And he had a recent anime series a couple years back where in this one, like pulling out a cell phone and he's doing things, but I never like thought twice about where he was year-wise and like what he was doing, because it just fit. Yeah. And I was thinking about Bond, and I was like, well, I like the old Bond because you can do weird, wacky stuff, because all of the futuristic things that they thought were going to be back then was out there. But now that we're in the future, it's kind of boring. I mean, so when it's modern, I don't have a problem with it really, but I feel like you limit yourself to what you can do imaginatively. However, the gameplay, whatever gameplay they showed off, did show a lot of that wacky stuff that came from like the 2000s Bond, which I was like, oh, this is cool. It looks fun. And it looks like a game from a bygone era, the mid 2000s. Like the way he moved, the way he shot villains coming out, the way he used his gadgets, it felt very old in a good way. I mentioned a couple of years back when I played Trials of Mana that it was the best PS2 game I ever played because it looked like a PS2 game. It felt like a PS2 game when you play it. This is probably going to look and feel like a 360 PS3 game, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I probably mean that in a nostalgic way. But until it comes out, we'll see. But I actually was kind of impressed by it. It looked good. I
did think it looked good too. And the other thing was it's an origin story. Yeah. So hopefully if it's successful, this can turn into an actual, they can actually, handle, they can build off of it, and this can be their own 007 that they do their own stuff with.
If you're ever curious, go back and play Bloodstone. The 007 Bloodstone on 360 was really good. It was like a Gears of War game, James Bond. Really? It was pretty good, yeah. Okay. Joss Stone was the Bond girl in that, which I was like, rad. Joss Stone is a hottie.
I have, is that how many Bond games were there? What game came out like around 2012, 2013? There's a James Bond
game. That was Quantum of Solace, probably. Okay. No, Bloodstone. Bloodstone was the 2012, because before that was Quantum of Solace. Okay. They didn't make one for Casino Royale, but they made one for, there was Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, From Russia with Love. They did based off the Russia with Love movie, and they had Sean Connery in there as well.
The only Bond game that I played a lot of was
Don't say it.
Not GoldenEye.
Okay, good.
Was the it was one for PlayStation, and it was Pierce Brosnan.
007 Racing. No, you probably played Tomorrow Never Dies.
I think it was Tomorrow Never Dies.
Which I didn't play Tomorrow Never Dies, but I played World Is Not Enough, and that one was good too. That one was real good.
Speaking of GoldenEye, I was initially upset when I heard about this, because this was going on at work, and I work in video games, so everyone was watching it. And I was working, and one of my coworkers leans over and goes, "Hey, they're making a new GoldenEye game. Now this coworker is like 18, doesn't know shit about video games.
Okay,
I was like, oh, cool. I look over, like, that's not fucking GoldenEye.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh my god, what an idiot! No, I'm kidding. So Thief VR I thought looked really cool, but I've been kind of disappointed in VR gaming lately. I still believe in it. I still think it's something that could be really cool. But like the Alien VR game that came out near the beginning of this year, I got a review copy. I have not reviewed it because a couple days before the game came out, it was revealed that it was part 1 and there was going to be a part 2. Yeah. So I was like, I wasn't sure what to do. So that put me in a weird spot where I ended up just holding on to it, and I was like, I guess I'll just review them both. But I will say that I wasn't a huge fan of it. I didn't think it was that great. There was Behemoth by Skydance, and that one did not get great reviews. The Metro VR game was not very good. So there's just been a lot of like good ideas for VR games. VR Alien, VR Metro, and they've all sort of just petered out. So Thief VR seems like a cool idea. One thing that I've always been skeptical about with stealth games is, how do you hide from somebody? Will you crouch behind a box?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you handle that in VR? Am I physically going to be crouching? Am I going to have a crouch button? If I have a crouch button, how are you going to limit my movement? Because what if I want to lean? How do I... Like, there's a bunch of stuff there. There's been stealth VR games that have been made, but I don't know if there's ever been one that was made that got, like, super popular. There's one called, like, Inquire or Esquire or something like that I know was relatively successful. Stormland, which a game I look back on and I think was insanely ambitious, had a stealth mechanic where you could walk into really tall grass and then the grass would sort of disappear. So it was just a grass stealth mechanic, but that was a way where they handled it in VR. So like, it'll be interesting to see how they deal with a lot of those things. But yeah, I've been disappointed in VR a lot. So I was like, oh, okay, I hope it's good. Yeah, I think it was a pretty strong showing for PlayStation. I think they held off Ghost of Yote. That's gonna get its own thing later in July, I think it was.
Yeah. Which those are always like slightly disappointing. Well, just because it's the way they did it, people expected like, gameplay trailer, maybe more information, but to like just show cutscene, like very, very small snippet cutscene, and just like tune in next month for more. It's just like, okay, well, you could have tweeted this.
Yeah, but
it could have been an email.
Yeah, it could have been an email. But seeing Tokon battle after that was really cool. I thought that was really cool. The Marvel Tokon
that was game. Interesting, and it was also interesting to see these Marvel characters done like in an anime style.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, which is somebody mentioned like Spider-Man fits in everything. Like no matter how you make Spider-Man, a large majority of the time, it's just like that's Spider-Man. Like he fits there. It's very cool. 2 colors,
maybe some webbing, and then white eyes.
Because it's obviously Iron Man looks like a Sentai, like Power Ranger.
I didn't even know it was Iron Man for a second. I was like,
which is cool, but that is
Iron Man.
that is their take on it,
Yeah,
but
totally.
But it is also interesting that it's very interesting to see characters that you don't normally get in a fighting game. So seeing like Ghost Rider and Miss Marvel in there was really cool, along with the people you'd expect. Obviously Captain America, Iron Man, because they're probably like, since the movie's like the most popular ones now. But yeah, that was very fun to see.
Okay, we'll move on to Summer Game Fest. So there was a lot shown off at Summer Game Fest. One of the things I would like to say about Summer Game Fest is before we get into, let me go through the trailers real quick. So like among the trailers, Mortal Shell 2, which I thought had some pretty cool looking enemies. Chronicles Medieval, which looked like a Mount and Blade type game, and it had Tom Hardy narrated it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which I thought was cool. I don't know if he's going to be in the game. I don't know how expensive it was to get Tom Hardy to narrate your game trailer, but games are way too expensive nowadays. End of Abyss, that looks awesome. Mouse PI for Hire 2025. Atomic Heart 2, we're getting a sequel to Atomic Heart, even though Atomic Heart came out 5 minutes ago. But hey, good for Mundfish. The Cube is a trailer I disliked a lot. I don't know if you guys saw the Cube trailer.
Yeah, I did.
But I thought I mildly suspect that the doctor's like opening dialogue is AI generated, because it just came across so stilted and like and just like illogical and weird. It just felt like really bad dialogue. Maybe it's fine, I don't know. Out of Worlds in 2026, Ill, which I think looks cool as hell. And that has been on my wish list for a long time, so I'm an OG Ill fan. A Wu-Tang game, game, which I
better get rated E for everyone.
It's for children, yeah.
Rise of the Deceiver, which I didn't even know. I have heard of Ghostface Killer. I did not know that they were. I know nothing about the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh man!
Except that.
You better protect your neck.
Yes, like I don't get it. Are they from Staten Island? Because Dave Chappelle has this joke where he's like, he's talking about Staten Island.
Yeah.
He's like, I hate Staten Island. Fuck everybody from Staten Island except for the Wu-Tang Clan. And I'm like, I don't know. Are some of the guys from Staten Island?
Must be. I don't want to speak on like New York business, because if you like label somebody from the wrong borough, like. I don't want to get wrapped up in that.
They're from the Eastern Seaboard. They are from the United States of America.
East of the Mississippi.
Yes.
Yeah, they are from Earth. They are humans. Deadpool VR, which is a Quest 3 exclusive, talk about in a second. Splitgate 2 made some news. Stranger Than Heaven, which looked awesome.
Yes.
Stranger Than Heaven.
Really cool.
Looked, and that was another one where it's like, I don't know what Japan looked like in the 1940s during World War II.
Yeah.
I assume it was not what San Francisco looked like in the 1940s during World War II, but that's what this game looked like.
Yeah.
But I thought that was an interesting, like, it was noir, but instead of like 1950s American noir, it was Japanese noir. And I was like, oh, that looks cool as hell.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, we got a Resident Evil Requiem, which we can discuss in a second. Okay, so the thing I wanted to say quick about Deadpool VR, I think one of the things about VR that I think is hurting maybe the VR landscape right now is exclusivity, is stuff that is being held in different platforms. Meta has done this with its Quest 2 and now Quest 3 headsets, and I do not want to hear that the games made for the Quest 3 cannot run on a PC or cannot run at all on a Quest 2. To me, that just seems, I don't know, maybe not on a Quest 2. I don't know I don't have the technical knowledge to tell you, but it just seems, if that's what's happening, that just seems like a mistake. At the same time, we have, like, for whatever reason, the Resident Evil VR modes are still locked to PlayStation.
Right.
I don't know where money changed hands there or why that happened. I know you can get mods to work it on PC, but like, how awesome would it be if one day Steam banner, free update Resident Evil 4 8 VR, and it's just like, that's how you can build a platform, right? But they're not doing that, and that upsets me. So it's like, again, with Quest 3, I know Quest 3 I think it's sold relatively well. I remember stories a couple of years ago that Meta was having problems with retention and stuff. And I know Quest 3 has a lot of users that are really young, that play like the young games that nobody hears about, that are super duper popular.
Not just young, but like copy paste. Like they're trendy is
like a lot of stuff that gets big on like social media and YouTube accounts are like adjacent to Roblox stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that's where the Quest 3 is making its money, and the games that are more for like older people and adults really aren't selling. I have no idea. But I don't think it's a good thing that, you know, in 2016, 2015, we started this new consumer wave of VR. Here we are almost 10 years later, and it's stratified. Meta doesn't give a shit about it because they're more focused on building glasses that nobody wants and trying to shove AI into things that nobody wants. Valve is doing its own thing, just like it's doing with the Steam Deck. So good for them. But and then PlayStation kind of seems like it wants to support PSVR 2, but also kind of doesn't. And of course, two of the best games you could play in VR, 8 and the RE4 remake, they are locked to the PSVR 2, and the RE4 remake, complete remake for VR, is locked to Quest 2. So
yeah.
That's not on PC. So there was my little soapbox about what in here did you guys like? What do you think?
Let's see here. Atomic Heart and the Cube. I didn't play Atomic Heart, but I was here for the discussion about it online, and it seemed very like nobody really paid attention to the game. They just paid more attention to the robots.
Yeah.
And because of that, as a consequence, like it seems like the developers were like, "Oh, I guess we need more of that." That's kind of what all I saw, like in those trailers. Granted, I was at work when I was watching Summer Games Fest, but every time I looked up to like watch that, it was just something that I was like,
just butts and sexy.
Do I need this? Like, do I need this? I guess I'm gonna call it a franchise now, but do I need this franchise to do this?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, especially with the Cube. I was also like, does this game warrant an expansion of this world? But I don't know because I haven't played the game yet, so maybe that's an unfair assumption.
Yeah, so obviously their art direction is insane. The different robots, the sci-fi of it. I'm not sure what subgenre you would want to call that. So post-Soviet retrofuturism, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know,
something like that.
But it is all very cool. It really is like if Fallout, but in Moscow. Like that's basically what's going on. But I will say that I stopped playing Atomic Heart because the writing was just so bad. I hated the main character. You get upgrades from this like upgrade machine, and the upgrade machine has a female voice that is like, "Oh yeah, put your money in me, baby," and it's like constantly making like sexual innuendos, but they're not funny. They're just like surface level high schooly sexual innuendos. There's no charisma or charm to any of it. Mm-hmm. It's just, "Oh yeah, do sex with me." It's like, okay, this isn't funny. Like it's not just referencing sex is not comedy. Making no jokes, just saying, "Yeah, sex, baby." That's not a joke. That's just pointing to sex. That's not funny. It's a very like 13-year-old's version of a sex joke.
Well, it depends. If you have Mike Myers say that line as Austin Powers, then it is a joke.
Yeah, because there's an entire context of a movie around it. But shag now or shag later. But so I stopped playing Atomic Heart, but I won't deny that the opening like hour of Atomic Heart was stunning. The different sci-fi stuff, the different like whatever. So Atomic Heart 2 looks cool. I have no idea if it'll be good.
Yeah.
Munfish, after Atomic Heart, it was successful enough that they are now, I think they're partially publishing Ill.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So they have built up a nice little, it looks like, I don't know if this was the plan from the beginning. There have been questions about like where they get their funding from. They're a Russian company. Mm-hmm. That was like a minor controversy, whatever. But so it looks like after Atomic Heart's success, they've sort of taken off and they're starting to do a bunch of different things. And who knows how that develops. But yeah, the writing was so bad on Atomic Heart that I just stopped playing because I was like, okay, I'll go play other things because this is not funny at all. And I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to move on. I was just going to say, yeah, and that's kind of what I felt like a large majority of the weekend with a lot of these is I felt like every time I looked up, I had a real quick knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, this is the same game. And then I'd realize that it's not. It's either like colors or aesthetics were all like generally the same. I mean, I can admit that Wu-Tang like looked interesting enough, but I do hear it was a completely different game like 2-3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, I know a couple people who were like
following it.
Well, who were working in that landscape at that time.
Interesting.
Next to people. So, I wasn't as stoked for Resident Evil 9 Requiem because I like as soon as Maggie Smith or whatever her name is, who played Lady Dimitrescu, when she came out the first time, it was kind of like you think I'm here for an announcement, but it's just to tell you that it's a sale. I was like, oh, there's going to be an announcement like at the end, because it was just, they did it too many times and it was just kind of obvious. And so, and once again, it was one of those things where it's like, well, you didn't show me anything. It was a nice trailer, but you didn't show me anything. Yeah, it was an announcement trailer. And there are certain aspects that are cool. I love the idea of going back to Raccoon City after the bomb.
Everybody's favorite thing.
Yes, because we never. Yes. We know that happened, but we don't know what happened afterwards. And so now it's just like, wow, that's cool. And then having a tie-in with certain characters from other Resident Evil games is really cool.
I saw there is apparently a Resident Evil leaker that is saying and holding to their report that Leon Kennedy is going to be the main character. That is unconfirmed. Yeah. That is a leaker online. It's just something I saw.
It's a dual thing I've seen. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, if that is true, then there's a much bigger reveal coming down the pike.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is a very, like, shallower, here's what we're doing, now shut up, we'll be back in a year. Or we'll be back in 6 months, maybe Game Awards. Yeah. Because it comes out in February. So if we know about it now,
that's right,
then maybe Game Awards is the big, and
reveal,
then they show up and the girl's like, oh, a zombie. And
they release the zombie virus into
the zombie gets shot in the forehead, and then the camera pans and Leon's there and everyone goes nuts or whatever, something.
Where'd
like
everybody go? Bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
But
he's staring at the crater. He's like, where'd everybody go? Bang, bango, bomb. Fuck. And then it just cuts. Resident Evil Wrecking.
Splitgate 2 is very disappointing. I've been disappointed in that game for a very long time, actually, because I played the original Splitgate and I was like, this is incredible. It was literally Halo but with portals, and sure, that doesn't sound like really unique, but it felt really great to play. It felt like Halo 2 but with portals.
Yeah.
And then they abruptly ended Splitgate 1 and then created Splitgate 2 and was like team-based shooter now, or team-based like Overwatch.
Hero shooter.
I had no idea it's a hero shooter.
Yeah,
now.
They changed it to a hero shooter, and it was just like, oh, this is not why I played this. Like,
I had no idea.
So for them to be out and be like, we don't,
Yeah, let's
Splitgate's been out for a while. I don't know why. Splitgate 2's been out for a while. I don't know why they're doing like Splitgate 2.
Well, I think it was the Battle Royale.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
But I do want to say that the guy that came out, I don't remember what his name is off the top of my head, but he got a lot of flack for his speech.
Yeah.
Lots of criticism. He posted a sort of lengthier explanation. People didn't like the hat. I just think that whole thing is tired. I don't know. If you're gonna go out on stage and say, I'm tired of playing COD, and this point has been made. As soon as he said it, I thought, like, the instant he said it, the tweet popped into my head, and then a bunch of people tweeted it out. The idea that you go out there and say, I'm tired of playing the same COD every year. You turn around and you have a free-to-play game with a bunch of microtransactions, and you just dropped Battle Royale mode. Like, it's just okay. All right, slow down, Turbo. You're not being revolutionary here. So like that was a point that I think everybody made, and whatever. Oh, and then don't forget the Imagine Dragons in the trailer. I think that was another thing. We need a list of songs that you are not allowed to use anymore in trailers. I don't want Imagine Dragons. No. What's that Johnny Cash song that was really popular like 10 years ago?
Ring of Fire?
No, not Ring of Fire. I don't know, but anyway, all of Johnny Cash. No. Mad World. No, you don't get to use it. Mind's Eye, you don't get to use Mad World. So that we'll just move that out of the way. I want to hear Taylor Swift. I want to hear Sabrina Carpenter. Those are the songs. I want an ill trailer with Sabrina Carpenter. That's what I want. I'm sorry.
Fortnite.
Yeah, she's in Fortnite. So that out of the way, I that does suck to hear. And I also learned that they have VC funding. I think that's partially how they funded Splitgate 2.
Oh, I don't know.
So I don't want to conspiracy theorize too much. But I mean, yeah, if you have this free to play game that's doing really well, a guy with a bag of money comes up to you and is like, "Hey, if you turn this into this, make a deal with us, I'll give you this much money." And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we can do that." And then you do that, and the community that you've cultivated doesn't like it because you changed up the game to be a totally different thing, and it seems like maybe chase trends a little bit.
Yeah.
But you got all this VC funding. Total speculation, but that seems like it might track a little bit. I don't know.
For those who don't know, VC, venture capital.
Yes. Parasite. I'm kidding. If anyone wants to back us.
Not any other VC from history. Venture capitalists.
Yeah. Okay. So did we touch on everything here? Oh, Mouse PI for Hire. A little bit more about that. That looks so good. Troy Baker's going to be, what's his name? Detective Pepper, something like that.
Mauser. I don't know.
That looks awesome. Okay, I think we've basically covered everything we wanted to cover here. Okay, moving on to Xbox. Outer Worlds 2 is $80 and it comes out October 29th. High on Life 2, that I don't know if that showed any gameplay. I don't remember. It may have just been a cinematic trailer. Resonance, A Plague Tale. So that's looks like a Plague's Tale, but it's not. It's different characters. It's like a spinoff.
Yeah, it looks like a spinoff.
Looks like a spinoff. Blood of the Dawnwalker, which looks really cool. That's
Kinda,
from Rebel.
kind of look cool, yeah.
Rebel Wolves, which are the former CDPR devs. Beast of Reincarnation. So that's another sort of Souls-like looking game, but that's from Game Freak, which do a lot of Pokemon games. My maybe favorite trailer of the weekend was Clockwork Revolution.
Right.
We still don't have a release date for that, but that looked awesome, and it showed gameplay, like gameplay that looked like it was just gameplay and dialogue options and stuff. So that I was Keeper from Double Fine, October 27th, where you play as a lighthouse. That looks sick as hell. I just wanted to mention this trailer. There are no ghosts at the Grand. It looks like a fun game, but the reason I wanted to make it is because it was clearly like a like Hotel California with the serial number. If you go back and watch the trailer, it's like welcome to, and then they like do a different melody. Like it's like they took Hotel California, did their best to change it up so it's just different enough to like reference it, but not
legally distinct from Hotel. Motel San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Persona 4 Revival, that has no release date, and it got a really short trailer. Planet of Lana, I'm not sure, 2, that's 2026. Chronos The New Dawn, which I think looks awesome. And then Phil Spencer ended with what seemed like a reference to Halo, Combat Evolved. Because he said next year is the return of a story or whatever that's been with us since the beginning. So yeah, we joked before the show, unless that's a Crimson Skies revival. It seems like...
Or Uno.
Uno, yeah. Uno.
Game pre-installed, except for that one guy.
Seems like...
one guy.
Seems like that's what he was referencing is a Halo remake, which we've discussed a lot. Okay, and then the ROG Xbox Ally and the Ally X. So this was one of the big meat and potatoes announcement. To break it down here, Xbox says Windows 11 has been optimized for the handheld, and it being Windows, that means that the system is more easy to use than one that's built on, I don't know, Linux, perhaps, at least allegedly. Within the Xbox full screen experience, you will see your aggregated gaming library, so Xbox Game Pass, Battle.net, etc. I'm not sure how they plan on doing that, if you like link accounts.
You probably do. Real quick as an example, when I started up Forza Horizon 5 on my PS5, it had me link my Xbox account, which was fine because it's like, yeah, sure. But what's interesting is that when I'm playing, in the corner, I see my Xbox tag and my Xbox profile picture, which is different than like my PlayStation one. And I was like, well, that's interesting. But I don't have my save file. There's no cross save.
Oh, okay.
So like I had to start over, which was fine. But
well, Sony's got to keep it separated because they care about the children.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
Man, we're never gonna let Jim Ryan.
No,
he's the reason why PlayStation's in this mess.
So, and the other thing is you can link your accounts with Steam, and it's the same thing on Steam. Like if you log into an Xbox game, like when I log into when I play Avowed, it's in the bottom right corner. It's like signed in, and there's like an Xbox logo there, or whatever. So they're integrating. Every game that is an Xbox game, they want you to know you're part of that like ecosystem, which makes sense. They are also working on a program with devs designed to help players identify which games have been optimized. So that sounds like the Steam Deck's verification thing, similar. No price yet. A quick reference, the Asus ROG Ally right now is $649.99. That's 512 gigabytes, 120 hertz, 1080p, and a Ryzen Z1 Extreme. So that's what that costs right now. Quick specs on the Xbox ROG Ally. Just the Ally is an AMD Ryzen Z2A with 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X memory, 512 gigabytes storage, M.2 SSD, which in the description it said for ease of change or something like that. And I wonder if that means, like, can you throw in another M.2 drive? Can you swap them out? I don't know. That's my interpretation. The Ally X is an AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme with 24 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM and a terabyte of storage, and that's the same M.2 2280 SSD. So, yeah, I don't know. They didn't announce price, and I think that's going to be a big equation here.
Yeah.
Because Steam Deck is already cheaper than that Asus ROG Ally.
By a lot.
And it's not that the technical specs may not beat it out, but I still think, there's a larger question. There's a larger existential question about gaming handhelds and what their purpose is, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. So, what did you guys see the ROG, the Xbox Ally? What did you
I saw
think
the
of it?
announcement. I saw the device itself as well.
Yeah. What did you think? Like, if it releases, and because do you have a Steam Deck?
I do have a Steam
You still
Deck.
have a Steam Deck. You don't have.
I
a Steam
don't.
Deck. So, but you would like to get one day.
Probably.
So, like, if this releases, and I don't know, the price range is higher than the Steam Deck, is your first instinct still to go to Steam Deck, or would you like look at other options?
I just have to see how my UI games play on them.
Yeah. But that's one of the challenging things with. So this is all the interesting discussion about the hardware, the PC handhelds, is like, okay, Steam, like with Steam on PC, Steam provided the platform, Steam Deck, right? They're like, here's this thing. And you people can sort of work your games and get them to work on it, but we have this thing now, right? So, and what we have seen is that I think it's sort of like, people say this about the NHL. The NHL might have fewer fans, but those fans are more dedicated to the NHL than like the NBA fan. Like NBA, there's a ton of casual NBA fans like me, but if you meet an NHL fan, it's like they can talk odd man rush and second team goalie and shit like that. So that's like, so with the Steam Deck, there may be fewer Steam Decks in the wild, but the people that own a Steam Deck, they're the people that are going to dig into Linux. They're the people that are going to use it for emulation. They are the people that are going to go online.
Why'd you point to me?
No reason. We buy all our games legally. We have physical copies of all our games.
Yeah, sure. I love having my $800 copy of Rule of Rose.
Yeah, which I definitely don't have a copy of.
I definitely bought it.
You should definitely hold on to that one.
Yeah.
I just feel like the games at
I
your
will.
store we all share spiritually.
Yeah,
is
of course.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Until
Our game.
so they're our games.
Yes, comrade.
Fuck. Well, okay. So what I was saying is that the Steam Deck has like a more dedicated user base. It's not as casual, right? And I think that works in its favor for a couple different reasons. One, I think it's important to remember that Valve is a private company, thank God, and it's going to stay that way For now, and I think what that means is that they can release hardware, and it doesn't have to light the world on fire. It's not a part of some huge push. It's just this new thing that they're doing. And if they lose a little bit of money on it, they can take that hit because, one, they're making a shit ton of money on loot boxes. But also, two, they're a private company, right? Microsoft can't do that. If Microsoft releases this standalone console thing, that's going to have to, they're a public company, that's going to have to generate something, right? It's going to be a part of a much larger ecosystem just with Xbox, but also with their larger strategy of like creating that ecosystem and being able to play your games in different places. The other thing is Steam has a wider, I would imagine there are more games on, I can't prove this off the top of my head, but I'm going to stick my neck out and say there's a lot more games on Steam than there are on the Xbox storefront.
Yeah.
And so what that is the Steam Deck is a bit of a Wild West. Games that should be able to run on the Steam Deck, like Panzer Corps, which is an old hex-based World War II strategy game. It should run fine on the Steam Deck. It runs okay. It could run better. I have no idea why it doesn't run great on the Steam Deck. There's probably a bunch of different reasons. But it's like, would that happen with the Xbox? I don't think so, because to me, if you have a more casual audience and I think Xbox has deeper connections to developers than Valve does, right? Valve is not, like, I imagine Valve is not as close to big time developers as Xbox is. And of course, Xbox also owns developers. Because of that, I would assume that if a game releases, and I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense to me that that Xbox ecosystem will work the same way, where it's a bit of a Wild West where some games don't work that well, so you have to like figure them out. And if it does, I think that works in the Steam Deck's favor, because again, you have users that are more willing to sit down and figure things out. It's not as casual of a market. And maybe I'm making too much out of that. Anyway, I don't know. Like, how many people are going to want to get a handheld for their Xbox or whatever?
Right.
I don't know. But right now, it seemed like this is meant to compete with the Steam Deck.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think they're meant to compete with Switch 2. Switch 2 is its own thing in its own universe. It's got Mario Kart. It's going to have a new Zelda. That's its own thing. So I still think that the handheld PC gaming market, obviously, this is meant to compete with Steam Deck. But even with the tech, the terabyte of storage, the ease of use, the better version of Windows 11, to me, it's like, okay, that looks like it can be competitive, but I would still lean Steam Deck. And the other thing that we can't forget is also the social scene. Like, we always forget about this with Steam. Steam is a social media platform, right?
It is.
Always forget about this. It's one of the big drawbacks from Epic, right? Like, Epic, when you go to buy a game on Epic, you scroll down and there's no reviews. Now, yes, you go on Steam and there's a picture of fucking Shrek down there. It's like, okay, thanks, guy. Like, thanks for telling me about this game. With a picture of Shrek.
It takes a lot of skill to copy and paste that ASCII picture of Shrek.
Yeah.
Right?
Or there's a checkbox. You forget what reality is. No, describe the graphics. Don't put them in a checkbox. Sorry, that bothers me. But for the most part, I think, a game gets mostly positive. You can scroll down and it helps you out. People have different review. You don't have that in the same way on Epic, right? So you don't have that same community. You don't have that same sense of, I can sort of rely on this other thing. You don't have forums. You don't have community boards. Also, all those forum posts on Steam, they also have web pages. So when you Google stuff, honestly, the second place I land when I'm Googling something is Reddit, and then I'll go and see if there's a Steam forum on it if I'm talking about video games, because oftentimes there is. And oftentimes people have solutions for things. Epic doesn't really have that. So Microsoft doesn't have any of that community, doesn't have any of that like review system, nothing, right? So that's another thing that I think is important about the Steam Deck, is you have that whole social aspect that's there. People have their libraries that are invested. I don't know. I don't have a ton of games like owned on other storefronts and on my Xbox, but I have a shit ton of games on my Steam Deck. So if I didn't have a Steam Deck and I knew that the Steam Deck was made to work with Steam and most of my games are in Steam, why would I want to jump hoops with the ROG Ally, Xbox ROG Ally or whatever? So again, I think that goes towards Steam's
focus.
Focus here. So there's sorry, is there anything else? I have another point I wanted to make, but I didn't.
Go ahead and make it, because I'll be honest, you hit every other point that
I'm
we
sorry.
can make.
I'm sorry.
That's
Stop
fine.
Stop me.
I hate to interrupt people. That's my pet peeve. So
I will say though, real quick, another thing I think that the ROG Ally will have slightly better than Steam does is it's more than likely going to be xCloud enabled. So
yeah, that's true.
So saves on your Xbox, if you have the premium Game Pass, you're gonna be able to stream that game to your handheld and play your save from there.
Yeah. Is there a point you wanted to make?
No.
So one thing I did want to touch on a bit, which is like sort of the existential question about why do we need PC gaming handhelds, right? Because I don't think these things are meant to become your main hub for gaming, right? The Steam Deck is sort of the extension of my PC, and there are a bunch of games that I do not need to play on my desktop, right? Like
it's
old RPGs, Balatro, stuff like that, right? Anything that's side-scrolling, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, games like that. All that stuff is stuff that I can play on my Steam Deck. It doesn't need to be on my monitor. It doesn't need to be on my living room TV, right? However, there are a lot of games that I feel like that's the experience I want, right? So Chronos, the next game from Bloober Team, this really cool, weird-looking horror game, kind of looks like Dead Space. It's like, okay, even if that ran perfect 120 frames a second, 4K, if that ran like that on my Steam Deck, I would still play it on my TV because it's this big, huge AAA, beautiful visuals, scary game. And so if I take it to a smaller screen, I feel like I'm losing something there, right? So it's like the Steam Deck fits a purpose that is sort of a natural fit for Steam, where it's like Xbox, maybe games will run fine, but I don't, when I think about like Clockwork Revolution, I don't want to play that on Steam Deck, and I'm not. Avowed, I don't want to play. And I think one thing that we have gotten into is people have talked about like, what kind of FPS can you squeeze out of Cyberpunk on the Steam Deck? And I understand why some people, but again, to me, that's like Cyberpunk's not a game that I want to play on a tiny screen. I want to play it on my PC. Now, for some people, maybe it's they don't have a PC that can run it or whatever, so it's like, this is the next best thing. But at that point, it's like, well, I would say a console's your better bet. So the point I'm trying to get here is like what the point of a PC handheld is. And it just makes more sense to me in Steam's ecosystem, where the Xbox Play Anywhere thing is nice, but a lot of the big Xbox games that like have that, like Indiana Jones, I don't want to play on a handheld anyway. And yeah, you can get Balatro on the Xbox storefront, I assume, but I'll just get it on Steam and I'll have it on my Steam Deck. Anyway, so yeah, just a thought I had. The Outer Worlds 2 being $80, I don't know. Something's gonna have to give at some point, because if you have a subscription service and you're raising the price of games, like at some point, and they release day and date on the service, I don't know, at some point that has to start to eat into the margins of that game, correct? Like, I just feel, and especially now when you're starting to raise the price of games, how many people, when Outer Worlds 2 releases and there's 1 million posts on Reddit, is it worth $80? How many people are going to be like, what, I'll drop $10 and try it on Xbox Game Pass, whatever, or however much it costs. I feel like that's going to be a lot of people. I think in a way, maybe we already have seen sort of the return of like a rental space.
Yes.
But this rental space is an Xbox service that is meant to like keep you subscribed. We've had this conversation over and over again. Do the amount of people subscribed to Xbox Game Pass, does that offset the loss of sales that you have if people are subscribed to Game Pass instead of paying $80 for your big Xbox game? I don't know. But
which I'm going to throw this out there. It sucks that PlayStation is not really advertising their thing, because I just re-upped for a year because their Days of Play thing like knocked it down $50, which was awesome.
Awesome.
But you take a look at what they have to offer, and their selection is arguably better than Xbox's on average.
Yeah, and
I would say.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And they do kind of like they talk about, but one of the problems is that there's tiers, right?
Well, right, yeah. I mean, there's tiers with Game Pass as well.
Oh, that's right.
Because it's Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking it's so much easier on PC because I don't think.
Oh yeah, that's PC Game Pass. Yeah,
PC Game Pass is just one thing. You are correct. Okay, well then I guess that invalidates mine. But I don't know. What do the tiers? Are there different?
There's different unlockables.
But are there different games? Do you have to pay more to get like the Xbox first party titles?
Oh, for Xbox, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's the core, which only gives you like a couple games.
Yeah.
Like a couple, like 10.
I don't remember.
And then there is like the next tier up. I forgot what that's called, but it does only give you like Ultimate is where you get everything.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, but like the caveat with what sucks is for paying it for Ultimate is that if you don't have a PC, like that is like you're paying for something useless, you know, rather than everything else.
But in any case, I would agree that that PlayStation seems to, I don't know, it's tricky because you don't always get first party titles, right?
No, that's the biggest downside is you don't get first party titles or day and date titles unless it's like Firebreak that comes out next week.
So excited.
Or Blueprints and Animal Well, both you got day and date. You know, there are some games, but I think Stray was another one. Tales of Kenzara was another one. So you do get some games day and date, which is neat. But others, that's the biggest thing that Xbox has over PlayStation.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to say about the ROG. Do you guys want anything to say before we moved on to Tidbits?
Microsoft is going to have to subsidize this thing if they want to make it affordable for people, because if it's going to be more powerful than like some of the other, like the ROG Ally Extreme, because I think I've heard it's comparable to the Extreme. Like that thing's $1,000.
You're talking about the AMD Ryzen?
The ROG Ally Extreme.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is their most powerful one. Like if they're making it as powerful as that, or maybe more powerful, then that's going to be a tough sell for people. Already have a problem paying $450 for the Switch 2, which is like astounding to me that it's even a problem, but whatever. I guess I get it, but still.
I feel like it. Yeah, they're kind of I don't know. That's the thing is, if you are what kind of audience out there would buy a PC handheld that has no idea the Steam Deck exists? Mm-hmm. There's got to be some kind of people
that's also the big problem for Steam Deck is unless you go looking for it, you will not find it. There's no advertising. It's very specified. Mm-hmm. There's no mass production of it. You have to want and know where to get a Steam Deck to get a Steam Deck.
And I would say, and I think from Valve's perspective, they're fine with that because they're a private company. They're very libertarian about it, you know, and I think they're fine with that. And also, I would say I am constantly surprised how many people know, and also monoculture. You know, it's like everybody watches sports, everybody knows about video games. Mm-hmm. People that don't play video games know about video games because they're on fucking Twitter and TikTok and stuff where everybody's talking about everything all the time. A little bit of everything all the time is what Bo Burnham said. So it's just like, I would say more people have heard about the Steam Deck than we could anticipate. They're just not interested in it because they don't play games. But I would say more people have heard about it than we may predict just because of how culture is now with everybody knowing about everything else all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the number of people that have heard about the Steam Deck versus the number of people that are going to hear or have already heard about the Xbox handheld is going to be vastly different.
Especially with the Switch 2 discourse. Mm-hmm. The thing is like X person goes, I'm gonna get a Switch 2, and the entire comments is like, no, get a Steam Deck, it's better. And it's like, okay, if you want to.
I will say that
I do love my Steam Deck.
I saw the BBC wrote a story about the Xbox handheld, and I was like, God, I just thought it was funny. Somebody at the BBC was like, this is newsworthy. That's like, all right, that's cool then, you know. Anyway, they're like, can you believe it? You could play games on a little handheld. That's never been done before. Sorry, I'm just slamming the BBC for no reason. Okay, Tidbits, let's do it.
What if I told you, in this world,
there are bits, and there are tids. And Richard is the only man who can put them together into tidbits.
On the like, you need to add like an explosion, like
Just the tiny one.
but like the explosion from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. The little. Anyways, I'm gonna do
Poorly
this
cropped too.
Yeah, poorly. Yeah, I'm gonna do this very quick because we're running pretty long. These are old, by the way, so I'm sorry since I haven't been here for a while. I haven't gotten any new tidbits.
Stale bits.
Stale bits, yeah, stale bits indeed. Tekken 8 had a Season 2 patch several weeks ago, now a couple months ago, which according to most players completely broke the game. New moves, combos, buffs, debuffs were all added, causing characters to play completely differently or even become unstoppable. It's caused so much trouble that the game director Harada apologized for it, and almost all of the devs responsible for this patch have been replaced. The patch will be fixed eventually with a whole new team.
Holy crap.
Uh-huh.
That's like the beginning of Monty Python, where the person that has been sacked has been sacked.
Yeah.
Good lord, jeez.
This one I thought was very interesting and made a little bit of waves, but I don't think it turned into a huge story. But tragedy struck Arc System Works as the source code for Guilty Gear Strive was leaked online. Players who were savvy enough figured out that loading the code into the Unreal engine allowed you to access the entire game. 2 future DLC and Season 5 characters and the ability to feasibly create any character you wanted natively was available to you.
Whoa.
They also have the ability to port the game to any other console that is able to do it. Strangely, users also found a character model for Super Saiyan Goku from Dragon Ball inside of the code. They found out soon that that model is a load-bearing model, meaning that if you delete or move it, in any way, like Strive just doesn't work. Like, yeah,
wow.
so like, yeah, he's like the anchor. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
There's a surprising amount of those in video games.
Yeah. Like it's that important piece of code that's just like lassoed along or something that like if you get rid of it, it's like, oh. Anyways, Nintendo is suing Genki, the gaming company who leaked the renders and 3D printed models of the Switch 2 at CES in January. And the last tidbit is Forza Horizon 5 has sold 1.4 million copies on the PlayStation 5 so far, and it's apparently selling twice as fast as Sea of Thieves and faster than Indiana Jones.
And what do you do, man, if your Xbox and all your Xbox games are selling better on PlayStation?
You rake in the money and wipe your tears with $100 bills.
Yep.
Yeah, but do you keep making consoles? I feel like you should, but I don't know. Do you just become...
Yeah, and I know it's not the same, and I keep making the same like argument, but it's like Toyota or a Honda. Like they do the same thing, just one prefers something over another, and people love the Xbox, the controller, they love the aesthetics, they love the UI. You know, if you love the UI, I don't, but you know, they love the things about like Xbox, and it is a tribalistic thing. You know, you have like 5 basketball and baseball teams in New York, and it's like, do you need it? Like, sorry to take a dig, but it's like
I didn't know there's that many.
I'm being facetious.
Yankees, nobody else. Knicks, nobody else. The Giants,
nobody else.
I mean, I was just thinking like, how many Giants 4 Super Bowls, and you know the Knicks have 2 championships. I mean,
Brooklyn's gonna be real angry with you.
Brooklyn, the Nets.
All right, fine. Fine, California.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. West Coast nonsense. Follow us, youtube.com/gaming discourse, patreon.com/the gaming discourse. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.